When you punch a destination into your GPS, you have a very specific expectation, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You expect this clear, solid blue line right on the screen. Turn left here, turn right there, and you'll arrive in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's incredibly comforting.
Right. It is. It's certain.
We really crave that binary orientation, like we're at point A, we need to get to point B. Just give us the straight line and entirely eliminate the guesswork.
Exactly. But imagine you're driving down this dark highway, and suddenly that solid blue line just totally vanishes.
Oh, the worst feeling.
Yeah, the GPS just stops giving you turn-by-turn directions. And instead, it starts asking you these deeply unsettling philosophical questions.
Like it's mocking you.
Right. The fog rolls in, the landscape outside your windshield stops matching the digital map entirely. And you get this sudden sinking realization. You have absolutely no idea who programmed the navigation system.
Yeah.
And worse, you might not even be the one steering the car.
That right there, that is the absolute definition of moral fog.
Moral fog.
Yeah, it's that terrifying sudden realization that you are navigating a complex landscape entirely without a compass. You're relying on a system you don't actually understand.
And that feeling, navigating that exact fog, is what we're exploring today. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Thrilled to be here for this one.
We have a truly fascinating stack of research, analysis, and historical notes in front of us today, and we are dissecting a single Bob Dylan song from 1978.
A very specific era.
Very. The track is called Señor, Tales of Yankee Power. Now, I want to be clear right off the bat for you listening. This isn't just some nostalgic deep dive for music nerds.
Far from it. I mean, you really don't need to be a Dylanologist to get something massive out of this.
Exactly. This is actually a masterclass in how to navigate information overload and just, well, sheer ambiguity.
Yeah, because we deal with that every day now.
We do. Our goal today is to figure out how mystery actually works. We're using this deeply atmospheric song as the ultimate case study to, sharpen your media literacy and your critical thinking skills.
It's the perfect test case for that.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are stepping into a piece of music that functions less like a linear story, right?
Yeah.
And much more as a condition of mind.
A condition of mind. That is the perfect way to frame it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you put on Señor, you aren't just hearing a campfire story about a guy taking a train ride. You are immediately submerged in an atmosphere.
Like a mood.
Right. A mood defined by displacement, travel, and just intense uncertainty. The setting feels geographic, There's a border region, a winding road, maybe a train. But the actual terrain the song moves through is psychological.
Oh, interesting.
It keeps you, the listener, in constant motion. It deliberately refuses to let you settle or figure out exactly where you stand.
Well, if the landscape is psychological, that brings us to a rather massive detour right at the trailhead.
The origin stories.
Yes. We have to look at where this moral fog actually comes from, because the architect of the song, Dylan himself, gave us completely conflicting maps about its origin.
He certainly did, which honestly is entirely on brand for him.
Oh, totally.
Dylan gave two very distinct explanations for where this song was born. In one well-known account, he claimed it was inspired by a literal physical encounter.
Okay.
He said he was on a train moving north out of Monterrey, Mexico, and he saw this strange older man stepping onto the train. And that specific physical image sparked the writing.
Okay, so a literal journey across a geographical border. That makes sense.
Right. But then fast forward a few years to the release of his biograph collection, and he offers a completely different origin story.
Of course he does.
In those liner notes, he described the song as the emotional aftermath of two people separating after this period of intense mutual dependence.
So, breakup.
Exactly. It shifts from a physical journey to an inward journey, a story of private grief, emotional rupture, and just the fallout of a toxic relationship.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second.
Wait for it.
Because if I am looking at this like a skeptic, I'm thinking, isn't this just a classic songwriter trick?
How do you mean?
Like a musical Rorschach test. I mean, musicians do this all the time, right?
Yeah.
They go through a really bad breakup, and suddenly they dress up their personal drama in epic geographical borderland imagery.
To make it sound more important.
Exactly. To make it sound like the fall of Rome instead of just a bad Tuesday.
Yeah.
Do we really have to treat both of these stories as equally valid? I mean, it's probably just a breakup track, right?
I get the skepticism, I really do. But if we just write it off as a breakup track in disguise, we actually miss the entire engine of the song.
Really?
Yeah. There is a vital concept at play here in the research called symbolic compression.
Symbolic compression. Wait, that sounds like something you do to a JPEG file.
It does sound technical, yeah.
How does that work in a song?
Well, think of it as a mechanism for packing multiple massive levels of reality into a single, really tight image. The song's true force comes from its absolute refusal to separate the private from the public. Look at it this way. A person can be completely lost in personal grief, the agonizing aftermath of a separation, while simultaneously being lost in a broader historical or political dislocation.
Oh, I see. Like going through a messy divorce on the exact same week the global economy collapses.
That's a great example.
The micro and the macro are pressing against you at the exact same time.
Precisely. You don't step out of the geopolitical world just because your heart is broken.
Right. The world keeps spinning.
Exactly. The private fracture and the public allegory are pressed into the exact same space. That is symbolic compression. You don't have to choose between the heartbroken lover and the weary traveler.
Because they're the same person.
They're the same person experiencing different scales of loss simultaneously.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
So, okay, if we accept that the macro historical world is actively pressing in on this private grief, we have to talk about the massive glaring signpost hanging right on the front door of the song.
The title.
The title, yes.
The parenthetical phrase that changes everything.
Tales of Yankee Power. I mean, you cannot ignore that.
No, you really can.
It totally frames the entire listening experience before the first note even plays. But looking at our sources, how do we impartially break down the political weight of a phrase like Yankee Power?
It requires looking really closely at the specific language and the geography it implies.
Okay.
Yankee Power immediately evokes U.S. influence, national reach, and the immensely complex border politics across the Americas.
Right. It sets a very specific stage.
It tells us that the confusion of the speaker isn't happening in an empty room. It is happening within a massive force field shaped by national dominance.
A force field.
Yeah, the lyrics stage a reality of unequal mobility, meaning in these border spaces, some bodies and resources move freely, while others are heavily managed, restricted, or stopped entirely.
But here is what trips me up about that.
What's that?
Can a piece of art actually be considered political if it totally avoids making an explicit political argument?
That's the big question.
Yeah. Because there is no policy debate in these lyrics. There's no specific government action named, no politician called out. It's all just, shadows and dust.
What's fascinating here is that the song does not stage empire or national power as a triumphant, confident, organized force.
It doesn't.
No. It stages a deeply damaged relation to power.
Damaged.
Yes. The speaker in the song is weakened, exposed, and totally unsure. They are caught inside the tales, the myths, the legends, the historical distortions that power tells about itself to justify its own existence.
So it's definitely not a protest song waving a flag for a specific cause.
No, not at all. Analyzing this impartially doesn't require taking a specific political side or hunting for some hidden ideological decoder ring.
Right, we're just looking at the text.
Exactly. It is about understanding the text's transnational imagination. It's a reflection on the sheer exhaustion of living under the umbrella of a massive, sprawling national influence.
It's the vibe of it.
Yeah, it is American reach and American fatigue happening at the exact same moment.
Fatigue. That is the operative word right there.
Oh, heavily.
The speaker is caught in this damaged, weakened state, wandering through the heavy shadow of Yankee Power. And when you are stumbling around in the dark, feeling small and weakened by a massive system, what's the first thing you do?
You look for help.
You look for an adult in the room. You look for a guide. Which brings us to the titular character and the central question of this entire deep dive. Who exactly is the Señor?
It is the great, inexhaustible question of the text. The entire architectural structure of the song is built around dependency.
Dependency, yeah.
The speaker repeatedly asks, waits, watches, and just desperately appeals to Señor.
But Señor isn't a name.
No, it's not.
It's just a title. It's
Yes.
like walking through a hospital yelling doctor without knowing who you're actually looking for.
That's exactly what it's like. It is a generic title of respect, offering zero specific biography.
Right.
And because the identity is left completely open, Señor could be a local political boss, a literal coyote guiding people across a border, a spiritual intermediary, or, and this is perhaps the most compelling read from the sources, it could simply be a projection of the speaker's own divided, anxious mind.
Think about how we live today, right now.
Yeah.
This is where the song feels aggressively modern to me. We live in a culture that is absolutely saturated with a broken trust in authorities.
Oh, completely.
We are constantly appealing to someone or something else to tell us what is going on. We refresh our feeds, we ask algorithms, we watch self-proclaimed experts on YouTube trying to figure out where the economy is going or just what our lives mean.
Looking for the blue line on the GPS.
Exactly. We are desperately begging for direction, but deep down we have zero confidence that the answers we get are actually true.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the song is staging exactly that modern condition.
Right.
It dramatizes the intense desire for guidance without the underlying confidence that true, reliable guidance exists anywhere in the world.
It's so bleak when you put it that way.
It is. This is the concept of the unreliable authority. The speaker assumes the Señor holds the map and knows the destination, but the evidence for that knowledge is entirely missing from the song.
So they're just hoping.
Yeah, it is an authority created purely out of distance and desperation.
So you are following this incredibly unreliable guide. You are wandering blindly through a geopolitical and emotional fog. What happens to the human brain in that scenario?
It starts to break down a bit.
You start to feel like you are moving in circles.
You enter a suffocating loop of memory. When you really dig into the lyrics, there is a profound sensation of déjà vu and historical fatigue.
Explain that feeling of historical fatigue. How does the text show that?
Well, the speaker is clearly in transit. They are moving through space. But there is absolutely no sense of progress.
There's motion.
Right. There's only non-arrival. The travel doesn't promise a fresh start or a new dawn. Instead, it brings this ominous, creeping feeling of recurrence.
Like it's all happened before.
Exactly. It is the terrifying realization that you are re-entering an old, destructive historical pattern, and you have absolutely no agency to stop it.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
It is like being stuck on a treadmill, running until your lungs burn, but the gym you are in is actively burning down.
That is a brilliant analogy.
You are exhausting yourself, moving, getting absolutely nowhere, while the existential stakes around you are getting catastrophically high.
That treadmill analogy captures the contrast perfectly, because the song places mundane, repetitive, exhausting earthly travel right next to a terminal horizon.
Terminal horizon.
Yes, there is an undeniable apocalyptic edge to the writing. It is not just about being lost on a dusty road, it is about feeling like the road itself is ending, and you are suddenly exposed to ultimate spiritual judgment.
And considering the timeline, we all know what happens next in Dylan's career.
We do.
The gospel era is right around the corner.
Exactly. We are looking at a vital threshold text. Señor was written and released shortly before Dylan fully embraced his explicitly Christian period.
You can hear it coming.
You really can. You can hear that biblical pressure gathering like storm clouds in this track. It doesn't preach a specific religious doctrine yet, but the apocalyptic tone, the feeling that history has reached a breaking point and ordinary secular rules no longer apply, it completely saturates the air.
Okay, so we have established this incredibly heavy atmospheric pressure. We have historical fatigue, a looming apocalypse, a ghost-like unreliable guide, and a broken heart.
It's a lot.
It is. So how does the actual music, the sonic ecosystem of the song, support all of this? Because if I remember correctly, this wasn't just him strumming a lonely acoustic guitar in a quiet studio.
Far from it. And this is where we have to look closely at the context of the Street Legal album from 1978.
Right.
To fully grasp the weight of Señor, you have to hear it within its specific musical ecosystem. Street Legal was heavily defined by massive, large band arrangements.
Big sound.
Very big. We are talking a full horn section, a choir of backing vocalists, layered percussion. It is a highly theatrical, dense wall of sound.
So how does a big band create uncertainty? Usually a big band sounds confident, like a parade.
It works because of the contrast.
In contrast, okay.
Think about a stripped-down acoustic song. It's just you and the singer in a room. It feels intimate and manageable. But with Street Legal, Dylan throws in this cacophony of instruments.
Right.
The personal, questioning voice of the singer is surrounded, almost drowned out, by this massive instrumental pressure. The horns sound almost like a mariachi band playing at the end of the world.
Wow, what an image.
The uncertainty isn't just a quiet, isolated thought anymore. It becomes systemic, loud, and unavoidable. The singer physically sounds like a man trying to be heard over the deafening noise of history.
Man. And the thing is, this song didn't just live on that 1978 vinyl pressing.
No, it had a long life.
It had a massive evolving afterlife on stage. He performed it live all the way into 2011, and we just got a rehearsal version on a recent bootleg series release.
Yeah, that was a great find.
But what I find truly fascinating is his stage patter. The way he would introduce the song to the audience during those live shows.
Yes, the deliberate live myth-making.
Yeah.
Dylan is notorious for revisionary performances, and Señor is a masterclass in this. In concert, he would offer wildly varying spoken introductions, spinning completely different yarns about what the song meant or who the Señor was.
He'd just make things up.
He deliberately, playfully muddied the waters every single night.
He was acting as his own unreliable authority. He became the Señor of the concert.
Precisely. He was actively protecting the song from hardening into one fixed, authorized textbook explanation.
That's brilliant.
And because he forcefully kept those interpretive gaps open, the song proved incredibly durable. This brings up a vital artistic concept in our sources called structured incompletion.
Structured incompletion. I love that term. Meaning the ambiguity is a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. Think of it like a coloring book where the bold lines are drawn to give it structure, but the artist refuses to tell you what colors to use.
Oh, I like that. Because the song doesn't explain itself fully, it allows other artists to step in and color those gaps without ruining the core identity of the piece.
Right, which explains the covers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is why covers of this song, like the brilliant version by Willie Nelson and Calexico for the film I'm Not There, work so beautifully. This song offers a transferable atmosphere of gravity and distance that new voices can inhabit and make their own.
So what does this all mean for us?
Good question.
We've looked at the conflicting origin stories, the political resonance of Yankee Power, the apocalyptic treadmill, the massive sonic ecosystem, and the stage myths. How do we take all of this and apply it to our lives?
Well,
How do you and I deal with information, whether it's a piece of art, a breaking news story, or a historical event that absolutely refuses to give us a straight, simple answer?
this is where Señor serves as a really practical playbook for modern media literacy.
Okay, lay it out for me.
When we are faced with ambiguity, human beings typically fall into one of two traps. The first trap is underreading. Underreading. That's the lazy shrug, right? Well, nobody really knows what it means. It's all subjective anyway, so why bother analyzing it?
Exactly right. It's treating ambiguity as mere emptiness, which is honestly an insult to the text.
Yeah.
But the second mistake is the polar opposite, and it's rampant right now. Overreading.
Overreading.
This is when you act like a conspiracy theorist with a corkboard and red string.
Oh, we see that all the time.
You force a total, rigid theory onto the information, insisting that every single detail is definitive proof of your one specific interpretation. You force false closure because you just can't handle the unknown.
You decide the GPS is definitely taking you to a secret government bunker,
Correct.
and every single pothole on the road is absolute proof of the conspiracy.
Exactly. Both underreading and overreading are failures of responsible analysis. The solution we derive from studying a text like this is a practice called interpretive proportionality.
Okay, interpretive proportionality.
Yeah.
That sounds like a dry legal term. Break that down for me in the real world.
It's actually quite intuitive once you get it. It means you must strictly match the confidence of your claims to the quality of your evidence.
Match the confidence to the evidence.
Yes, you have to clearly separate what you know from what you suspect.
So it's like reading a breaking news story about a massive tech scandal.
Perfect example.
The stable fact is the CEO resigned. The strong inference based on patterns is they're probably facing financial trouble. And the wild speculation is the company was a front for money laundering.
Right.
And the problem with our culture is that social media treats that wild speculation with the exact same confidence as the stable fact.
That is a perfect modern parallel. In the case of Señor, we have stable facts. The 1978 album context, the parenthetical title, the massive horns.
Right.
Then we have textual patterns, the feeling of movement, the repeated questions. From there, we make strong inferences about power and spiritual transition. But we must clearly recognize when we cross over into pure speculation about Dylan's personal life.
You map the facts, you track the patterns, you draw the inferences, and you heavily flag the speculations.
Exactly.
You do not treat a guess with the same authority as a fact. That shows that true critical thinking doesn't just eliminate mystery. It clarifies exactly what kind of mystery you are actually looking at.
And this raises an important question about how we consume media today. If we constantly insist on forcing false closure on everything we read, watch, or hear, we are actually stripping the depth from our own culture.
We're flattening it.
We are demanding a final, simple verdict when the evidence only supports an ongoing, complex investigation.
To briefly recap the journey we've been on today for you listening, we started on a foggy train moving north from Mexico. We wandered into the massive historical shadows of Yankee Power.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We felt the sheer exhaustion of historical fatigue, we stood on the threshold of an apocalyptic judgment, and we navigated the dense, overwhelming sonic ecosystem of a 1978 big band.
Quite the trip.
And we did all of this to learn the art of disciplined openness, to learn how to sit with the unknown without either giving up in frustration or just making things up to feel safe.
It is a profound, necessary exercise in holding multiple truths at once. The private heartbreak and the public history, the literal border and the spiritual thresholds.
And that leaves us with a final thought to ponder. Señor has survived, and frankly thrived, for nearly 50 years because of its structured incompletion.
Yes.
It endures in our culture precisely because of its stubborn refusal to explain itself to us. But think about the digital culture you and I are swimming in right now.
Oh, it's totally different.
Algorithms, social platforms, and audiences all demand instant, absolute certainty. We demand an immediate take on every piece of media, every news drop, every song the second it comes out.
Instant gratification.
So the question is, by refusing to let things be ambiguous, by demanding that solid, comforting blue line on the GPS at all times, are we actually destroying the lifespan of our own art and ideas?
If everything is instantly solved and neatly categorized, there is absolutely nothing left to discover.
Exactly. Sometimes the fog is where the actual meaning lives. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the map, keep embracing the mystery, and we will catch you on the next one.